You're still watching Signature Morning. Still on the issue of insecurity, it continues to evolve in ways that touch every corner of society. Women, children, people living with disabilities, and other vulnerable groups, often bear the deepest scars. And so this morning, we're going to turn the spotlight on these often overlooked experiences with Esther Harkins, who is a psychotherapist. She's also an author and a trainer. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. My pleasure to be here.
Right. Now, when you look at the current landscape of insecurity in Nigeria, what stands out most to you about how women, children, people living with disabilities, and other vulnerable groups are uniquely affected?
Now, here's the thing. Women, children, people living with disability, and other vulnerable groups, these form the how do I say this now? Children, they can't speak for themselves. They can't take themselves anywhere. Their names are given to them. They need help. People living with disability, if anything happens, they need our support. They need somebody to assist them. Women, they are not as strong as men, physically speaking. So you can imagine that this is a group that, if I'm a person who wants to hurt somebody else, of course I'm going to target this group. This group, they are a vulnerable group. And that's possibly why this is happening to us.
All right then. So how has the rise in insecurity also affected this group?
As you've already said, also we've already established, this group are the most vulnerable. And now imagine that there is insecurity. Let's not imagine it. We know that it is there. We have already seen it. We've heard the news. This group, women are caregivers. Women are literally the energy, the emotional energy of a home. And in a situation where there's instability, insecurity, you can imagine the impact it will have on our mental health. And now we're usually the ones, not in every situation, I understand the situations where the dads stay at home and look after, they're the primary caregivers. But imagine a situation where it's the mom. What mindset, what would be her state of mind as she is trying to prepare her girls, her sons, her children, knowing that she's sending them out there in a world where she doesn't know how they will come back, if they will come back. Now, please explain to me, in this type of climate, how are you supposed to function? How are you supposed to be at your best? How are you supposed to go to the market, buy food stuff? How are you supposed to come home, look after your home, look after your husband in cases where there are husbands, or if there's no husband, you're also dealing with the lack of another support? You can already appreciate that we don't have a good footing in this type of climate. Not just the political, not just the social, but now adding to it the fear, the threat to life. It's not going to make for a conducive family. You're going to have children who are bedwetting, who are having nightmares, who are afraid to step out of the house, who are living with trauma, the toxic stress. Do you know that they found out it's not even where you live or your DNA or genetics that affects your health the most? It's toxic stress. Now, stress that is manageable, that has an end date. You know that I'm going to come out of this in the next, maybe I'm doing an exam, but in the next 30 minutes, 1 hour, the stress will be over. That's okay. But toxic stress is that we don't understand who is protecting us, who is for us, who is against us. I'm going out right now, but am I going to come back? What is going to happen tomorrow? What's going to happen in the next 30 minutes? We are not sure. So imagine, some of us who are not living in this climate, it's easy for us to just say, no. But imagine that is you. Put yourself in the women and the children's shoes who are suffering, who are living with this imminent threat and this danger to life hanging over their heads.
Now, this issue of vulnerability of women and children, it's not a new thing when it comes to, insecurity in the country. But the scale and patterns of violence obviously have shifted over time. So how would you describe, the change in the patterns of violence and in the patterns of the way these insecurity issues affect these vulnerable groups over the years?
You have rightly said, initially it started like a scattered, like not very well planned attack on this most vulnerable group. But now over time, you are seeing it's like the evil is getting louder and bolder, and I'm not surprised. When we will see it and we'll try to sweep it under the carpet. Oh, Nigeria, you're very good at look the other way until it comes to your doorstep, until the snake bites you on your heel itself. Then we will wake up. We are seeing now that the people are getting even more bolder. And I want to also to make an assertion that these things that are happening, it's not happening in isolation. Some of you, you know the neighbors, you know the connections, you know one or two people, because it's not like they're coming from space. They're not coming from outer space or from a very far away country. It's our own children, who we have not given the proper care and attention to, that have now turned into bandits, thugs. And you can tell that is increasing, it's on a rise. But what are we doing? I want to also posit a suggestion. Each one, reach one. Each one, teach one. Do you know that safeguarding, that's keeping especially the vulnerable groups safe, is supposed to be everybody's concern? You're not meant to look the other way when you know that this young man is going out with gang. They have gotten weapons. They've gotten, guns, knives. He's hanging. That young man, he started as a child. Each one, reach one. Is that we become sensitive to stop living in a myopic way where it's just me, myself, and I, as long as my family is okay. Today, I was reminded of a movie, Spider-Man movie, and allow me to digress a little and share this story to drive home a point. Spider-Man went and was fighting in the cage. He finished fighting. They cheated him of his money. He was so angry. You see, when you see actions like this, there's always a root cause. If you look beneath the iceberg, you will see frustration. You will see insecurity. You will see fear. You will see things that have triggered this behavior. Spider-Man was so angry. Then somebody was coming in to rob the building. He could see that person was a robber. They had their masks on. Spider-Man has special abilities. He could have stopped them. You are saying, I'm not Spider-Man. I don't have special ability. But you are there making TikTok content. Can you not shed light on what's happening? I'm sure the presenter will come to ask me this question. But there are things that we can do. Anyway, Spider-Man lets the man go free. And what did the man do? The man needed a getaway car. He went and shot Spider-Man's uncle and now escaped, and Spider-Man could not forgive himself. I told this story to say that the patterns that we have witnessed of women and children being, oh God, I don't even want to use the words, the things that happen to us. And we already know, we've heard the news, we see the news, we're not blind. We know some of these people, they are our neighbors, but we're too afraid. We have already seen there's a trend. We see that's increasing over the last few years. It started like little pots, but now it's becoming bolder and louder. But I want to say that you who is listening to me, each one reach one. I'm not asking you to go and say, challenge, challenge, challenge. No, those people have things that have not been heard. They have hurts that have not been addressed. It's only someone who is traumatized, somebody who is hurt, who will go and traumatize, wound, injure, and hurt other people. We need to start looking, each one reach one, healed ones, heal others. Thank you so much, ma'am.
All right, then. We've seen that the kidnapping of children has been on the high side ever since Nigeria was declared a country of particular concern. And how will these also affect the children psychologically and emotionally, knowing that they are still children and they have undergone this kind of process already?
Oh. You're asking me to speak to the emotional state, to the mindset, to how do I put this word? What the children might be carrying, the vicarious, the trauma, how do I even speak to this? So I'll put it to our audiences. Imagine that you're a young child. You didn't ask to be in this world. You didn't ask to be born. You are here now, and all of a sudden, it seems like you are under attack. You know, if I can share my personal story, this is many years ago now. I think maybe 1999. My father is late, but if he was here, he would remember. I'd come back from school. So school had finished and there was a designated spot I was meant to wait. Now, what my family did was sometimes it's the neighbors who pick us or my father will pick us or the neighbors, the dad of the neighbor. On this particular occasion, I didn't know who was going to pick me. Two men approached me. They said that, who are you? Where do you live? I think I was maybe 8 years old, 8 years old at the time, thereabouts. And would you believe it? I started to follow them. This was the time when it was really rampant, when they were using children body parts for rituals. And so I'm not really certain of the year. And I started to follow these two gentlemen they flagged down a 504 Peugeot. And the shorter one entered. Then it was supposed to be me and the tall one was behind me. And then I started to hear somebody calling my name from a distance. They were calling my name, but my name was getting louder. I managed to look back. I saw my dad. Bless, I'll never forget that sight. My dad was hanging out of a taxi. He had propped himself onto the window of the taxi. My dad was a big man, and he was calling my name. I was able to turn. I didn't get into that vehicle. The tall one got in and they sped off. And I was able to be reunited with my family. Now, I'm a success story in the sense that I'm here. This is now 30 years after, and I'm here to talk about this. But how about the little children? You're waking up every morning. Your mind is that I'm going to learn. But instead of you to think about your education, you're thinking about other things that you're at your age you're not supposed to carry. You're not meant to be thinking about. Our duty as adults is to protect these children, to make sure they're in supportive, conducive environments. But instead of you, in fact, you're going to bed knowing that tomorrow might be uncertain. I might go to school and not come back. I might lose my life. I'm just thinking about this and I am moved. I'm emotional right now. I'm sorry you can't see my face. But I cannot emphasize, I cannot overstress the psychological damage. You know, children should be in a way that they should be able to develop. Nothing should stop their development, whether it's physical development, whether it's mental and intellectual development. And with this social insecurity that's rampant in our communities, you put yourself in their shoes. We have all been children if you're not a child right now. And imagine how it must be. Imagine the effect of it. I'm talking about not concentrating even if you finally manage to make it to school. I'm talking about school, not even wanting to go out at all. You're talking about school. What if you're not wanting to go out at all? Because you might go out and not come back. The children, they are going through a lot. They are suffering. If they could articulate verbally, thank you, ma'am.
We can feel how you feel from here and from the way that you're speaking. And we've seen quite a high number of abductions in Nigeria from different parts of the country, particularly in the north. And most of the people who have been abducted are girls, schoolgirls, teenagers, young adults, and even older women as well. So that leads me to ask you, what would you say are the gender-specific threats that women now face in these conflict-prone or high-risk areas? And how does this issue of insecurity amplify the already pre-existing inequalities or dangers that they face?
This is a very loaded question. As women, I mean, when was it that we were even able to vote? When was it that we even had rights to go to work? When was it that we could even go to school? When was it that we even had the right? There's already so much pressure, and I often wonder why. What did we ever do? Talk about I know you didn't even mention this, but the FGM. Talk about things that are it's like as a race or as a people, as a gender, it's like, what did we do to the world? that we have to undergo all manner of oppressions and suppressions put on us by systems, by humans who think that they know better, who ought to know better. But at the end of the day, what they're doing is they are stuffing out. Without a woman, would there be life? How many male can just come together and say, let us repopulate, let us create, let us procreate? And yet, at the same time, from women's suffrage rights, from different things that the women are having to, if you see me now, I'm doing my elbow like this, it's like elbow our way out. Add to that when they are looking for people to inflict harm on, is this same group. And I want to ask us questions. I know that I'm asked questions, but I also want to put it back to my audience, to you, my listener. The women that are around you, we need to stand up for each other. If you're a mother listening right now, if you're an auntie, a grandma, you know the pain of what the oppressive system has done and created. You need to rise up. Enough is enough. Enough we're being sidelined. Enough we're being put in a box. We're being put like, this is how far you can go. This is what you can do. Now look at what is happening with the insecurity in our community. I'm not saying that men are not affected. I hope that's not what's coming across at all, because men have also been victims of this insurgents. Men have also been abducted, but more particularly the women folk. Like I said, maybe physically we might not be built as men. Some women are actually stronger than men, and they will give you a good. They will give in the ring. If you put them in the ring, they will give you, a good. I don't want a good battering. But we need to recognize that we are not weak. We are not weak. We have life-giving ability in us, not just because we give birth to children, but because it's the woman that builds the home. It's the woman that keeps the home. And even though my question is about how this particular insecurity that is coming to the fore, how it affects us, I want you to know that you're not just a victim, you're a survivor. You're not just a victim. You're not just a target. We can band together. We can form, even if it's vigilante groups. Oh, and I want to end this particular section with this. We who are many are never more powerful than when we are one. Women, I'm speaking to you. Rise up. We who are many are never more powerful than when we are one.
All right, Esther. So in Nigeria, is Nigeria's humanitarian and security response inclusive enough to address the unique needs of vulnerable populations?
That's a very, very important question. Our humanitarian efforts, is it enough? Is it inclusive enough for the vulnerable population? And that's one question that we all need to come and put on the table together. Because the answer is, I don't think so. I don't think so. Honestly, I don't think so. I feel like Nigeria, we do a lot of little things, and there needs to be coming together. There needs to be a reviewing and evaluation of our policies and our systems. So, for example, when an abduction or a school, for example, is being held under siege, what is already in the template? What are our policies, our safeguarding policies in terms in regards to this? And in those safeguarding policies and behavioral policies and security policies, how much representation is there for those who are, I'm talking about those who are now, they're in wheelchair, maybe they're deaf or hard of hearing, or they have visual impairment. Have a look at the policies. Have a look at the policies. If possible, I know what I'm saying now might be a larger scale, but from a federal level, And it might not even be that the government is directly involved. It might be the parastatals. It might be the, like you said, the humanitarian efforts. But we need to look at it, think local and act global. Look at those policies again. Where can we make adjustments, reasonable adjustments for those who might be a little bit, like I said, if something happens because they can't hear, they can't see, they're not. Do you know that we are twice more likely to get hurt and twice less likely to get help? Those of us who are in vulnerable positions, and I'm talking about physically now, not just because of your gender, but because of your condition. So I believe that more work has to do with looking into the policies that are already in place and ensuring that it's representative and is reflecting on the people, especially those who can't speak for themselves, who would need assistance, especially where there is emergency evacuation. Thank you very much for that.
Now, we've pointed out, the issues that most of the vulnerable groups face in issues of insecurity. But let's look at the healing that comes after this trauma and this traumatic experience. Healing communities after this trauma. Now, what would you say that a psychosocial healing or some form of mental health help and community rebuilding, what do you think that would look like for these communities and these individuals who have been at the forefront of this traumatic experience?
Now we're talking. Thank you so much for this question, because healing is at the very heart of what I'm doing. And the reason I've said this is because, I mean, when there's already a problem, we start looking for solutions. But I'm more interested in how can we prevent problems? You see, that's why when I said each one reach one, healed ones heal one. That's why what I was alluding to when I was saying that. Now, let us answer your question. Psychosocial healing, what would it look like? It's a process of restoring a person's emotional, psychological, social, and relational functioning after experiencing stress, trauma, violence, loss, or chronic insecurity. And it should focus on the whole person and the whole community. It addresses how we feel, we think, we relate, we behave, we cope, and how we function. It's not one thing, it's a set of layered interventions. So, number one, emotional stabilization. Before anything else, people need to feel safe internally. So, we need to look at things that help regulate fear, support through anxiety, reduce intrusive thoughts, grounding exercises, breathing and relaxation techniques, emotional check-ins, and helping people express difficult emotions. So stabilization will be the first pillar of any healing process. Shall I go on? How do you feel about that, ma'am?
Go ahead, go ahead.
Thank you so much. Number two, trauma processing. Trauma processing. People begin to make sense of their experience by naming what's happened, reducing the shame. So naming it helps reduce the shame. Understanding their reactions are normal. So when you have the hypervigilance, when you have that tendency to want to isolate, when you have that looking over your shoulder, when you have that palpitations of your heart, your reactions are normal. You're processing a lot. Anyway, let me carry on. We need to address the guilt, the fear, the feeling of helplessness. Next, we need to learn how trauma affects the brain. This may also include things like talk therapy, storytelling, narrative exposure, art therapy, dance movement therapy, group sharing circles. And I was going to suggest at some point, with storytelling, many Nigerians are on TikTok, Facebook, and they're using skits to create content and they're sharing light. So we can include more of this. Like I said, we who are many are never more powerful than when we are one. We all have different creative expressions and creative voices, and we can be able to begin now to tailor it so that it shed light on breaking the stigma. But let me just carry on. This phase, the phase two, the trauma processing, will help people reclaim their narrative. So, phase three is restoring identity and dignity. When you go through trauma, it does a lot to erode at the very fabric of who you are as a person. people just lose that sense of dignity, of respect for even themselves. It's like, I'm no longer a human being worthy of love and affection or worthy of anything good, because I've been so violated that my sense of respect and dignity have eroded. So we need
All
to
right,
work
thank you so
on.
much, Esther. Our time is up already. And of course, this conversation it cannot end here. It's something that we'll have to keep talking about every step of the way. I hope you join us next time so we can expand on these particular points you have.
Listen, I'm looking forward to it, and we will focus more on that next time I come. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a blast.
Thank you so much for joining us, of course. The pleasure is ours. This is where we draw the curtains, and we're joining the Abuja studio to continue the signature morning. Thank you for joining. Also, don't forget to follow us on all the social media platforms. And of course, we're always live on YouTube and on SLTV Channel 265. I am Quinsley Rowland.
And as always, I remain Uchenna Chimdi Olwa. Have a lovely day.